Hashem Naaseh v'Natzliach. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. This week's parsha is Parashat Vayechi, and we wanted to give this shir about kosher eyes. The challenge of our generation is being holy and not looking at inappropriate, dirty stuff. So I wanted to bring out this idea. In this week's parsha, we learn it. Actually, Sephardic and Persians especially are very into Ayin Hara, the evil eye. So the Gemara says, if you're ever worried about getting Ayin Hara, you should say a pasuk from this week's parsha. Say, Ana mizara de Yosef ka'atina dejlash al teba ina bisha shneimar. Ben purat Yosef, ben purat ala ayin, ben otza adel shor, v'yigdu l'rov b'kerv ha'aretz. Both of these Torah passages of Ben purat Yosef and v'yigdu l'rov are from this week's parsha. What does it mean? Yaakov gave a bracha to his son Yosef that he's going to be immune from the evil eye. You know why? Because Yosef had shmirat enayim. Did Yosef ever look? It says Yosef was so handsome, women used to go on top of the balconies and on top of the walls of the city when Yosef would pass, because he was in charge, he was the prime minister of Egypt. Wow. They used to take off their clothing so Yosef should look at them. Did Yosef ever look at them? No. So through the divine inspiration, Yaakov Avinu knew his son was so holy. He said, "What? You never abused your eyes to look at inappropriate stuff. Hashem is going to bless you that what? Nobody ever could give you the evil eye." You understand? So I just wanted to bring out a beautiful idea about this that has to do a little bit with the previous class we had. Rav Ovadia brings in Yechaveh Da'at, Chelek Bet, Volume 2, Teshuvah Tet, a fascinating idea regarding this. Which means we have to do our mitzvahs in a way that will always be holy. So we know that there's a question that comes up, is which synagogue should you pray in? The one that's right next door to your house or the one that's far away? So one person asked Rav Ovadia, maybe the one that's far away, you're not allowed to go because you should support the local one. Why just like there's a halacha when you en ma'arvirin ala mitzvot. There's a halacha that if your tefillin bag, you first touch this. What should you put on first? The sisit. But if you first put on the tefillin, then you first have to put on the tefillin, then the sisit. Because you're allowed to, the mitzvah comes in your hand, are you allowed to throw it away? So same thing here. This is the first shul. So Rav Ovadia actually says, no, there's no such halacha. You're allowed to go to any synagogue you want, even 1 hour away. Actually, the one that's an hour away, you get more reward, because every step you take is what? On Shabbat especially, it's called what? Sachar Pesiot. But then very interestingly, at the end of the Teshuvah, Rav Ovadia, you know what he writes? He writes that I would recommend personally to go to the close one. You know why? Because the one that's far away, you may get into trouble of what? He says people dress like animals nowadays. So he says you're trying to do a mitzvah to go to the far away one because you want to get the mitzvah of, because any mitzvah you do, the more pain you have in a mitzvah, the more gain you have, right? They say no pain, no gain. Yeah. So the more you go to the farther shul, the more mitzvah it is. But he says no. He says since there could be non-modest women walking around, so Rav Ovadia says, I recommend, it's so dangerous. We don't know how destructive it is when we see something non-modest. It causes our soul to become what? Tameh. So he says, it's better to go to the close one. So Rav Ovadia is giving us an eye-opening lesson of life. And you know what that is? That every time we say a bracha on a mitzvah, what do we say? Asher kidishanu lemitzvotav etzivanu. Every mitzvah is there to make us holy. And what's the definition of holiness? To be separated from sexual sin. So this is a golden rule that all the mitzvot should be making us holy. So on this light, I just want to end off with a beautiful story. My brother-in-law, Rabbi Eli, told me. He said that after Rav Shach had passed away, you know who the greatest, before Rav Chaim Kanievsky became the Gadol Hador, who Rav Chaim would go ask questions from? Rav Aryeh Leib Steinman. Rav Aryeh Leib Steinman was one of the great Gedolim. So there's a very interesting story. He says there was one of his close supporters of Rav Aryeh Leib Steinman. He called Rav Aryeh Leib and he said, my son is getting bar mitzvah. I'm going to come visit you. So he thought that Rav Aryeh Leib would support him. So he bought his ticket and everything, that his son should go to Israel, to the Kotel, put his tefillin, and then go to get Bnei Brak, like how everybody used to get a bracha from Rav Chaim. You went. He said this guy was a personal. His mentor was Rav Aryeh Leib Steinman, the Gadol Hador. He wanted to go. You know what he got? A telephone call back. Shockingly, you know what Rav Aryeh Leib told him? He said, I'm instructing you not to come. He said, why? I bought the ticket. My kid's so excited. He said, by the time you come to the airports and travel to me, your kid's going to see so much schmutz, so much dirty stuff, because the airport is in Tel Aviv, and he says it's better to stay home. And you know what? This guy was a faithful. Do you understand what that means? Wow. So you know what the father did? The father was such a holy Jew. He took the ticket, the El Al ticket that he had bought, and he framed it, put it in his son's room. He said, this teaches you that the Gadol Hador told you it's better not to travel to Israel. See, this teaches us what our priorities are straight. Like my Rosh Hashiva used to say something else. One of the best mitzvahs of the Torah is kiruv, right? We need to, if you go to a Torah class, bring your friend. Like the Rebbe of Lubavitch used to say, if you know Aleph Bet, teach your friend Aleph. We can't stand by and see all of Jews become assimilated, right? We have to bring everybody close. But again, what's our number one goal of every mitzvah? To be holy. Should you go and, like the class I just gave a second ago, should you go and do kiruv on women? No. Abraham was the first person that did kiruv. Who should be doing kiruv? Men should be doing kiruv on men, and women should be doing kiruv on what? Women. So may Hashem help us that just like Yosef was like the fish, and the evil eye doesn't happen to the fish, it shouldn't happen to us either. We should only be healthy, wealthy, and wise, and blessed with all the blessings of the Torah. Amen. Ken Yiratzon.